another problem with the shiny object thing is I think if you're going about a thing strictly for financial reasons, like if you're all you care about is making money, is much money as possible, that's a lot of times not the best approach to take. Welcome to Finance for Physicians, the show where we help physicians like you use money as a tool to live a great life. I'm your host, Daniel Wren, and I've spent the last decade advising physicians on their personal finances, with the mission to help them understand that taking control of their finances now means creating a future where they can practice medicine where, when, and how long they want to. Jackie, how's it going?
Hey, Daniel, doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk again. We had Jackie on recently for the first time, and now we're back at it again. And
Yes.
we have another exciting topic to talk about. It's a pretty common one. And so you remember there was the craze not long ago with there was a tech, not a tech company, a little stock. There was a video game company that everybody got really hyped up about. And it was Reddit. There was a Reddit forum where the
Right.
people were all jacked up about the stock and they were going to
Yeah.
short it or something and like do like the hedge fund guy or do like the big Wall Street guys do. And
Right. We're going to do like a short squeeze of it
yeah, and it kind of worked
for some
for
people.
some people, but not for the average person probably. Um,
Mm.
so that was a when was that happened? That was
Oh, a couple years
a
ago.
couple years ago. Anyway, that's a good example of like a shiny object kind of a thing. So that's what we were going to talk about is shiny objects that come up and how to know that it's a shiny object maybe and how to
Hmm.
navigate those and because a lot of people um we heard from so that we work with a lot of families and the way that we would hear from it from them is that like I had a buddy that's buying this GameStop thing. What do you think? It wasn't
Right.
like I've been following this Reddit forum for years and years and have read all the posts and
And
like,
I think this is a really solid found financial idea.
yeah, no. It was like a buddy
Right.
and I think I'm going to do this thing. Or it was like at the end of the meeting, it was like, oh, by the way, there was one more thing. I
Always got to sneak that in
got
right when the meeting's almost done.
I got some GameStop. Um, and a few of them did well, but the problem was it was I mean that kind of thing you just have to be careful with, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
So um, anyway, we're going to talk about those shiny objects and
Yeah.
ideally help you navigate those better. So
Yeah, because I feel like it's one thing that is consistent across time for us as financial planners working with clients is there always is that shiny object in the financial world. There's always that kind of buzzword that we start hearing from many different clients in many
yep,
different parts of the country. And so there's some sort of common thread where that gets into the mainstream and becomes a buzzword. Maybe right now, AI recently has been
hmm
a more of a buzzword on some of the financial news networks. Things like that, where then we start to field more questions about whatever that buzzword is as people find out about it.
yep, or cryptocurrency
Yep.
or
Yeah.
Dogecoin or or what's another good example? What's your favorite shiny object? Passive income. That's another.
Yeah, passive income, I think, has been a really big one in the past 5 years or so, maybe more, maybe less, depending on what type of circles people are
Mhm.
in. But I would say that one also got especially hot in some of the physician circles. Would you agree that that's kind of they get
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of appeal in some of
right,
the blogs and
for
podcasters,
sure.
other influencers in those spheres?
Yeah, and that one's kind of sneaky because it could can be good, like,
Mhm.
or some people do really well with it.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I guess it's not like the true definition of a shiny object, and that it could be managed really well, and it could be a very responsible
Sure.
decision to make. But when people go about it the wrong way is when it becomes
Yeah.
the shiny object.
Well, and I think that can be part of what the shiny object is that
Yeah.
we don't want to look at any one of these buzzword topics as the keys to my sound financial independence, retirement, or of replacing a whole financial plan with going all in on whatever that is. But
Mm,
some of them do still have a place in your financial plan and in whatever that looks like for you.
mm,
It's just that with any of these shiny object buzzwords, we need to approach with caution. I think we need to have a little bit of scrutiny about where the information's coming from, what the pros and cons and risks are, and how we can factor that into a financial plan without becoming overweight in that, without causing any undue risk to
yeah.
how solid the plan is. But it's not that any one of these are bad or need to be avoided at all costs, but more just that I think
Well,
we
some of them
shouldn't
are bad.
go,
Some of them are
well, you know what, to each their own.
bad. Yeah. Some of them are scams.
I will not be making any judgments on that.
Yeah. But the ones we've thrown out so far, we'll just say that the ones we've thrown out so far as examples, like they're not necessarily bad in themselves.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So then I'll agree with you. Don't have any Ponzi schemes.
Ponzi schemes, because we have definitely worked with families that have been taken advantage of
Yeah.
through Ponzi schemes, like
Right.
legit, because of the whole shiny object thing.
Yeah, and it often is kind of what we talked about earlier, like, oh, I heard about this from my friend or from a friend of a friend who invested in this thing and they had these spectacular returns
Mm.
and now I'm going to do the same because I would love to have that happen to me. And
I'd
it
like
turns
to
out
earn money when I
sometimes,
sleep.
right, and so sometimes those things that sound too good to be true, it's because they are too good to be true, unfortunately.
Right. So that's one little red flag of a potential
Yeah.
shiny object sounds a little too good to be true. Um, Another thing you've kind of hit on this a little bit is like really digging into the purpose behind it. Like,
Yeah.
why are you wanting to do it in the first place? And what type of process did you take to come about to get to the point of making that decision? And so, for example, the answer of because my buddy's doing it is a bad answer.
Right. Or
Like,
because the buddy or whoever else, you're like, well, I want them to think that I look a certain way or that
mm,
whatever I may be purchasing here or investing in or whatever, that it portrays some sort of image of who I am to the world. Like you're keeping up with the Joneses sometimes.
yeah, like comparison is the thief of joy.
Hmm.
And so that's always a bad starting point for because I think a lot of those shiny objects, the fact that they get so hyped up, that's how they do it is that people kind of you know, get that component going and they're like, I
Yeah.
got to do it because my buddy's doing it and my neighbor's doing it and I want to look good and
Everyone else is getting rich off of NFTs. Why aren't I?
FOMO.
Yeah. Yep. Big FOMO aspect there. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's something we try and focus on with our clients a lot is we want to build a life that is actually fulfilling and that
Mm.
actually is achieving what you value and what your principles are and not just amassing the biggest sum of money possible so that someday you die with a big number in the bank.
Yeah.
That's not really our goal. And so I feel like that why can really help drive a lot of these potential conversations.
Yeah. I think most people realize that money in itself doesn't make them happy. It takes a while sometimes for some people. Some people don't realize it till like they're at the very end.
Yeah.
But I think eventually everybody realizes money in itself for sure doesn't make you happy. In some cases, it makes it worse, especially if you become consumed by the money
Hmm.
itself. Because I mean, the money in itself is just a store of value. It's like neutral. It doesn't necessarily add or subtract. It's more about like the other stuff that's important. So you got to remember that when you're trying to. So another problem with the shiny object thing is, I think if you're going about a thing strictly for financial reasons, like if you're all you care about is making money as much money as possible, that's a lot of times not the best approach to take, especially for something like that, like passive income. I think of with that example, it's common that it's like I want to do it to make money, but um, that's a very usually, after a few months of being involved in that kind of a uh, thing or scheme or whatever you want to call it, you realize that there's other stuff that comes with it, and like
Right.
risk up and down. It's
Yeah.
stressful, and time. You got to spend time on it, and like read the reports, and like or go clean the house if it's real estate,
Yeah.
um,
And I think
or
real
the
estate often is one of the more common avenues for that we see among clients.
yep. So you got to think about it um, from the overall standpoint. It's not just, I mean, making money is good and all, but it definitely doesn't bring happiness.
Yeah.
And in some cases, that makes life worse. So if a physician, I'll give you just the example of the real estate because we talked about it a few times. If you're a super busy physician and you're burned out at work and you're looking for alternatives, passive income sounds pretty sweet because it's like
Hmm.
earn money while I sleep,
Yeah.
and it's a better return than the stock market, and I want to diversify and I'd rather earn higher returns, so let's do this real estate thing. You do it, you realize it's a lot more than just earn when I sleep. There's actually an
Yeah.
obligation to it, and the obligation, you don't have time because you're already burned out and maxed out at work. There's no
Right.
time available to go do the thing, and so it actually makes life worse. Let's take a quick break to talk about our firm, Renda Financial Planning. The goal of our podcast is to empower you to make better financial decisions. But sometimes the best financial decision you can make is to work with someone who understands your financial goals and has the expertise to keep you on track to reach them. That's where Ren Financial Planning comes in. We are a full service financial planning firm that works with over 400 physicians and their families across the country. We charge a transparent monthly flat fee for our services and offer virtual meetings you can take from anywhere. Best of all, you'll get to work with a team that specializes in working with physician families. So whether you're starting out and wondering how you'll balance your student loan payments and saving for a home, or you are an established physician trying to figure out how to pay for your kids' college and how much you need to save to reach financial freedom, we can help. I'll put a link in the show notes to schedule a no obligation meeting with one of our certified financial planners. Ren Financial Planning, LLC is a registered investment advisor. For more information about our firm, please visit renfinancial.com. That's WRENNE financial.com.
Yeah, I think I can speak for myself and my own clients. I've definitely had some that have wanted to go that route with, say, rental property, for example, for that passive income to feel like they're less reliant on
Mhm.
their own human capital to generate an income. But I have had some where they've then found the opposite, that it was more headache than it was worth. It was
Mhm.
ended up being a net financial negative once they
Right.
factored in all of the expenses of purchasing real estate and then being the one who's responsible as the landlord to fix, maintain, things like that. There's a
Mhm.
downtime if you don't have a tenant throughout any where that expense isn't going to go away. And
Yep.
then on top of that, you've added a lot of leverage to your financial picture, which, the dual coin there. I mean, you can maximize or increase your return through leverage,
Mhm.
but you can also significantly increase your risk. And so that's just something we need to factor in and make sure that
Right.
it also works. And as you mentioned, not even on the financial side, but just when we work with a lot of busy families, it's seen as, oh, maybe if I do this, I can work less or rely less on earning an income in a traditional way. But as you mentioned, the time factor, we often see that we work with a lot of very busy people, and adding in some of these things, like trying to achieve passive income through rental properties or some other means, often adds more of a burden than it's really worth for some
Yeah.
people.
I've had more than just a few families that have tried real estate come back and tell me, I wouldn't do it for all the money in the world anymore. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's quite telling. That's very interesting to hear
Yeah.
that. But what we're trying to say is like, think about that on the front end. Like, think about not just the money component, think about like the other baggage that comes with it, because there's always going to be something, and you got to kind of think through the pros and cons. I think I've one other thing that I've seen with these shiny object kind of deals, even when they go really well, that also can bring its own set of baggage. Um, well, first of all, the fact that it's like being hyped up and is a shiny object in itself means that it's probably already been like um, it's already become really popular,
Right.
and it's probably less likely to continue to be so popular in the future. I mean, you don't.
Right.
That's hard to say, but that's definitely, if I had to guess, like the fact that it's, because I was gonna use the example of like crypto. The best time to buy crypto would be like 2010, or right when it was starting or whatever, and it was, nobody knew about it then. So now that
Right.
it's like hyped up, its value is much higher. But um, what happens though, even with all that, sometimes people hit it big with these uh, shiny objects. And so one risk of hitting it big is you start to think you're smarter than you are. You're like,
Mhm.
maybe it was me that I saw this.
Yeah.
Everybody does this. They tell the story back to themselves of the past. They're like, that was pretty good research I did.
Right.
You forget that you actually did no research whatsoever and did it because a
It's
buddy did it.
it's like market timing with investing, where you could have bought this thing, or like the example you use, you could have bought crypto way, 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 way back. And then you're like, I'm really good at this. I'm great at market timing. I'm a genius. But research across the board consistently shows that you will not be able to maintain that type of return there forever. It's
Right.
just, it's not possible.
Yeah. It's definitely a stressful ride too. And the ups and downs, and eventually that kind of thing caves. And so I think maybe a good last point we can throw out there though, if you do still feel that the shiny object makes sense. I don't know. Do people call it a shiny object after they decide to do it?
I, I don't know.
I think
We
that's
can
probably
ask
when
our
people stop
listeners.
calling it a shiny, because shiny object has a negative connotation. So it's like, let's say you've decided this shiny object is not so, it's a legitimate thing, but it's still got a lot of risk to it, and it's kind of like we'll call it an alternative asset, like a
Okay.
so what is a reasonable way to go about doing it? Because say we're talking about the crypto example, it's like, do you sell all your stocks in your entire retirement account and then buy the crypto? That's probably an unreasonable way to do it. But what's a more reasonable approach once you've decided this is a something you want to at least like play around with?
If you're in a position to do so, I'd say ask your financial planner for
Yeah,
help
there you
with
go.
it. I'm sure they'd be happy to help you put together a plan. If you are not in such a position and you're doing this on your own, I would say, let's be very skeptical and cautious of anything that sounds too good to be true. Make
Mhm.
sure we are doing our research before making any significant changes to what we have, how we invest, etc. And then I would say that the next step being find a level that you are comfortable with. I would not want anyone to be in a position where they did what you were just talking about, Daniel. Let's sell
Right.
everything in my 401k and let's take out the money and let's put it all in crypto or something where maybe I understand it, maybe I don't, maybe I'm going off the advice of a friend or my own research or something else, but
Mhm.
not putting yourself in a situation where you're going to lose sleep over it. Really leaving, if this is something where I want it to be a part of my portfolio or my financial plan, making sure that it is a small enough component that I'm not taking on irreparable potential harm to
Mhm.
my future or to what I need, then treating it more like, if this goes very well, it's a little cherry on top. If this does not go well, it does not tank my plan, tank my stability, my ability to retire in the future. And so approaching that conversation from how much can I afford to risk here,
Mhm.
I think would be a good way to start. What
Right.
about for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think going in assuming it's going to go to nothing. And if you're
Yeah.
okay with that, that's always a good starting point.
Mhm.
But then I would be like, if you really think it's going to go to nothing, you probably ought to not do it in the first place.
Well,
But I've I've made dumb investments. Like I've bought into shiny objects. So,
mm,
everybody, gets falls for the temptation on occasion. So I think the biggest takeaway from me is if I think about my experience with it is you'll make mistakes, but like learn from them, I guess, or
mhm.
maybe don't forget the past too.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
remember back to the times that you made mistakes and let that instruct your future or learn from it's even better to learn from the mistakes of other people.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Then don't put your own portfolio at risk. Just find some cautionary tales out there and learn from those people's experiences to decide if you want to try and stomach that sort of a risk for yourself.
Yep. Awesome. Well, any parting thoughts on your end, Jackie?
Um, you know what? We've got a very, very passive income option, dividends. You want to really be passive? You want to make money while you sleep? Let's let's get some
VTI.
dividends in our future.
Yeah. You probably that's a good point. Like a lot of people don't realize they're already earning passive income.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people view that as like, here's a thing I have to go out and buy a property or buy something and spend a lot of money to do in order to earn passive income. But we know a lot of people, I think, among our clients who are very happy with the passive income they earn from their investments. And that's
Right.
great too.
And it's very
To each
secure and
their own.
solid and diversified. And
Yep.
I had I had someone text me the other day, a friend, about a stock, and I was like, "You probably already own the stock because it's like a stock that, I mean, like a huge company that everybody would know.
Sure.
It's like
Hmm.
Vanguard Total Stock Market owns that, and
Yeah.
so a lot of people don't realize that they already, like if you're a client of ours, you already own like thousands of stocks and real estate, and
Yeah.
so it's very broad,
Yeah.
broadly
And
diversified already.
and each of those asset classes are earning certain amounts of dividend as well. So
Yep.
you're
Yep.
already getting some passive there. Not to say that there isn't more out there that you could earn, but just be a little cautious about what parts of that are not passive on your part, whether the time, energy, costs, headache, in order to try and earn that passive income.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, good catching up with you, Jackie. Thanks for
Yeah, you
coming on
too.
again, and we'll have to look forward to the next time.
Yes, thanks for having me.
No guests or clients appearing on the podcast received any form of compensation for their appearance and obtained no other benefit from us. It should not be assumed that every client has had the same experience.